Right, let's dive into The Great Gatsby together. Now, it's a classic, we all know that, but, the stuff you sent me, well, it tells me you're looking for something more than flapper dresses and, that whole roaring 20s vibe.
Yeah, I get that.
So what is it about Gatsby that speaks to you now?
It's funny, isn't it? This book, well, it's almost 100 years old, and people are still so drawn to it.
Totally.
And I think it's because, even though it takes place way back then, it's really about things that we still deal with today. Wanting things, love and loss, all that.
Absolutely.
Those themes, they really resonate across time.
Totally. And speaking of the setting, the 1920s, the Jazz Age, it really sets the stage for Gatsby's story.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking crazy economic boom, jazz music everywhere, speakeasies, all that. And the source material you sent even mentions this.
Oh, okay.
Unrestrained ambition is like a defining characteristic of the whole era.
Yeah, and Fitzgerald, the author, he was right there in the thick of it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he lived it, the good and the bad.
Wow.
The allure of it all, and then, how it all kind of fell apart, that disillusionment.
Yeah.
Which is probably why he was able to capture it so perfectly in his writing.
Right.
It's really fascinating. The Great Gatsby, when it first came out, wasn't actually that big of a deal. It was...
Really?
Yeah, it took a while for people to really get it. It gained recognition much later, so it makes you wonder, right?
Yeah, what was it about the culture, maybe, that had to change for people to see the depth of it?
Exactly, yeah, the depth and the lasting relevance.
Okay, so we've got the author, the time period. Let's get into, the actual setting.
Okay.
Like the place,
Sure.
Now West Egg and East Egg, right?
Yeah.
Those fictional towns on Long Island, what's the deal with those?
Yeah, think about them as more than just, places on a map.
Yeah.
They're really symbols for different social classes.
Gotcha, okay.
So West Egg, that's where you find, the new money, right?
Okay.
People like Jay Gatsby who, they've made a fortune, but they're still kind of, trying to fit in with the old money crowd.
Which is?
East Egg.
Okay.
East Egg is all, inherited wealth, generations of prestige.
Like looking down their noses at the new money folks.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where you have, Tom and Daisy Buchanan,
So we've got this new money versus old money thing going on.
Yeah.
And right in the middle of it all is Jay Gatsby.
Gatsby, right?
A mysterious millionaire. There's this, emphasis on the mystery surrounding him in what you sent.
Right.
So what is it about him that's so captivating?
Well, it's everything, right? The lavish lifestyle, those crazy parties, all the rumors about where he came from, his past.
We want to, peek behind the curtain.
Exactly. Yeah, we want to figure him out to understand what makes him tick.
Okay, so behind this carefully constructed persona is Daisy Buchanan.
Right.
Nick Carraway's cousin and, well, the object of Gatsby's, shall we say, intense affection.
Yes, definitely.
So fill us in on Daisy. What's she all about?
Well, she's beautiful, charming, alluring, but she's also, very much a product of her upbringing.
What for you?
East Egg, all the way. She represents that world that Gatsby, he's so desperate to be a part of.
Right, and to complicate matters, she's married to Tom Buchanan.
Yeah, which creates the main conflict, really.
You mentioned Tom being old money, but what else is there to him? He seems like a pretty important character.
Oh, yeah, Tom, he's kind of the embodiment of arrogance, the sense of entitlement that comes with, never having to worry about money.
Right.
He's powerful, possessive, used to getting his way.
Sounds charming.
He's everything that Gatsby's trying to overcome, not just to win Daisy, but to
prove himself.
Yeah, to be accepted into, the top tier of society.
So it's like Gatsby's ambition going head-to-head with Tom's established power.
It's a recipe for disaster, really.
Right, and we're seeing all of this, through the eyes of Nick Carraway, our narrator. We're right there with him, experiencing the extravagance and the tension.
Yeah, exactly. It's so immersive.
Why do you think Fitzgerald chose to tell the story from Nick's perspective?
Well, Nick's our guide, right? He's the one who takes us through this world, this complicated world.
Yeah.
And he's an outsider at first, right? Drawn to the, the parties and the excitement of it all. But as things unfold, he starts to see the cracks, the shallowness, the recklessness, the moral decay.
Wow.
So Fitzgerald's using Nick's changing perspective to comment on the whole idea of the American dream,
Right.
And the way society worked back then, it's important to remember we're seeing it all through Nick's eyes.
Yeah.
Which, of course, could color how we see the characters and what happens.
And speaking of Nick, he ends up getting involved with Jordan Baker.
Oh, right, the golfer.
Yeah. What do you think his attraction to her tells us about him?
That's interesting, Jordan. She's got this kind of coolness about her,
Yeah.
Aloofness,
right.
qualities that, maybe appeal to Nick at first.
Right.
But as he gets to know her better, he starts to see her flaws, her dishonesty, the way she doesn't really care about other people.
Okay, so this relationship, along with everything else he's seeing with Gatsby and the Buchanans, it's like another piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, it shows that things aren't always what they seem.
And actions speak louder than words.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got this whole web of relationships in these like contrasting social worlds. Now let's get to like some of the key moments in the story,
Okay.
Starting with Gatsby's legendary parties. They seem like more than just, people getting together to have fun.
Oh, definitely. Those parties with all the champagne and the jazz music, it was all very deliberate, very calculated. Gatsby was trying to recapture something,
The past.
Yeah, to create this world where he and Daisy could, have a future.
So they were like extravagant and carefree on the surface, but
underneath it all, there's this deep loneliness, this yearning for something he can't quite grasp.
it's like those parties were almost a symbol, right?
Yeah.
Of Gatsby's ambition, this desire for something that's just out of reach.
Exactly.
Okay, what about the reunion between Gatsby and Daisy?
Right.
The source material you sent, it mentions this encounter being both heartwarming and bittersweet.
Oh, interesting.
Those seem kind of contradictory.
Yeah, you're right.
So how do those two emotions play out?
Well, that's where it gets really complicated, right?
Okay.
Gatsby, he spent years building up this, perfect image of Daisy in his mind.
Yeah.
But the reality of actually seeing her again, it's messy.
In what way?
There's tenderness there, like reconnecting with their past. But there's also this sadness.
What kiss?
Because Daisy's not the same person she was 5 years ago,
And Gatsby can't just, erase those years.
No, and his attempts to, recreate the past, they just don't work.
So the reunion kind of exposes the flaws in Gatsby's dream.
Yeah, you could say that.
It shows him that the past can't really be recaptured.
Right, but he seems determined to hold on to that dream, even if it's, all an illusion.
So then what happens?
Well, the tension between Gatsby and Tom, it keeps escalating.
Oh.
Yeah, leading to this big confrontation at the Plaza Hotel.
Okay. Plaza Hotel, huh? Sounds dramatic.
Oh, it is. This is where Gatsby and Tom, they really go head to head.
Okay, and what happens?
Well, Tom, he's jealous, right?
Obviously.
And he wants to put Gatsby in his place.
Show him who's boss.
Exactly. So he exposes Gatsby, tells everyone about his past, where he really came from, how he actually made his money.
Oh, so he's tearing down that whole image that Gatsby's built up.
Yeah, it's brutal. He strips away all those illusions.
Makes you think about that whole social class thing again.
Yeah, for sure.
Gatsby's money, it's not enough to erase where he came from, can't buy his way into Tom's world.
No, not at all. And Daisy, she's caught in the middle.
Torn between the two.
Right, Gatsby's love and then Tom's, security and status.
And she chooses.
Well, she can't really break free from her upbringing, can she?
It's like that whole idea of the American dream, that you can move up in the world. It kind of gets shattered in this scene.
Yeah, up against those deep-rooted social structures.
So then there's Gatsby's death.
Yeah, the tragic ending.
Tell me about that. What happens?
Well, it all kind of comes back to that recklessness,
Oof.
The wealthy elite, that moral decay that Fitzgerald keeps showing us.
Right.
Gatsby, he's killed by George Wilson.
Who's he?
Myrtle's husband, remember?
Oh, right.
He thinks Gatsby was driving the car that killed her.
Thought it was Daisy.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, this whole act of violence, it's a direct result of, the carelessness.
Ugh.
Tom and Daisy, really.
And they just get away with it.
Yeah, they move on, no consequences.
It's like they're untouchable.
Exactly. They operate with this sense of impunity.
That's so tragic that Gatsby's killed because of, someone else's actions. He gets caught in the crossfire.
It really adds to the tragedy, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It's like even those who strive for the American dream, they can still become victims of things beyond their control.
And it kind of reinforces that idea that the American dream is what's flawed, isn't it?
Yeah, like it's not attainable for everyone.
No, and Gatsby, he's the perfect example. He had the wealth, he was chasing after Daisy, but
he couldn't escape the social system, the choices of others.
It's all connected.
Okay, so we've talked about the characters and the, the main events.
But let's step back a bit. Look at the bigger picture.
Okay.
What are the themes of The Great Gatsby?
And why do they still matter to us today?
Yeah, almost 100 years later.
Well, one of the biggest themes, and we've already kind of touched on this, is the American dream, right?
Okay.
Gatsby's story, it's like the perfect example of what's so alluring about that dream.
Okay.
You know, the idea that anyone can make it, no matter where they come from.
Right, that you can pull yourself up by your bootstraps.
Yeah, achieve success, happiness through sheer willpower and hard work.
But then it also shows how that dream can get twisted.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Like corrupted by all the wrong things.
Yeah, materialism, social climbing, chasing after money and status.
And that's what happens to Gatsby.
It does. You know, he wants the wealth, but it's not really about the things, is it? It's about winning Daisy, being part of that world that's always shut him out.
And that's the tragedy. He thinks that money will equal happiness.
Yeah, that's where he goes wrong.
And then there's the love and obsession thing.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
I mean, Gatsby's, his feelings for Daisy, it's almost like an obsession.
Yeah, it goes way beyond just love.
He's got this, like, idealized version of her in his head.
Stuck in the past.
Yeah, and he'll do anything to try and get that back.
It's both romantic and, well, kind of scary.
And really destructive, right?
Yeah. In the end, it's what destroys him.
Makes you think, how we create these perfect images in our minds.
Of people, of relationships.
Yeah, and how that can set us up for disappointment.
Oh, for sure. It's easy to get caught up in that, especially these days.
With social media and everything.
Yeah, always comparing ourselves, wanting what we don't have.
Another theme that really comes through is the whole social class,
stratification.
Yeah, that division between West Egg and East Egg.
It's so stark.
It shows how hard it is to move up in the world.
Yeah, and how much privilege those born into wealth have.
And they just get away with everything.
Like Tom and Daisy, right?
Yeah, there's no accountability.
It raises some big questions, about justice, fairness.
About how money can shield you from consequences.
Definitely.
There's also this whole, this idea of time, right?
Yeah.
That you can't go back.
You can't repeat the past.
Gatsby's so focused on that one moment.
5 years ago.
Yeah, his romance with Daisy.
Like, if he can just recreate it, everything will be okay.
The parties, the mansion, it's all an attempt to rewind the clock.
But time keeps moving forward, doesn't it?
It does.
And we can hold on to memories,
yeah,
but we can't change what's happened, and we can't escape the consequences.
All these themes, they're all intertwined.
They are.
And Fitzgerald's writing, it's so beautiful.
Yeah, it really is.
What makes it so captivating, do you think?
It's lyrical, very descriptive, almost poetic.
Okay.
He uses these vivid images, and there's this sharp social commentary woven throughout. It's like he's creating this whole sensory experience, You can almost see the parties, feel the heat of the summer.
Smell the gin and the champagne.
Yeah, exactly. And he's not afraid to criticize society, to point out the hypocrisy.
Right.
A lot of that comes through Nick's observations.
I was just thinking about that quote,
Which one?
So we beat on boats against the current, borne back ceaselessly into the past.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
It's like this perfect image of how we try to fight against time, but
we can't win.
No, we can't.
And then there's the green light.
Oh, at the end of Daisy's dock.
Yeah, what do you think it represents?
Gatsby's hopes, his dreams, this unattainable future.
Exactly. Fitzgerald uses symbols like that throughout the book.
To give it a deeper meaning.
Yeah, to make us feel something.
Okay, so we've talked about the themes, the characters, the writing, all of it. But why does The Great Gatsby still matter today?
That's the big question, isn't it?
It is.
I think it's because it speaks to these universal experiences, Things that are just as relevant now as they were back then.
Like?
The American dream, for one.
That's still a thing.
Oh, yeah, we're still drawn to it, and we're still disillusioned by it.
Right.
Social class, wealth disparity, that's not going anywhere.
And the desire for...
more.
Yeah, for status, for possessions.
Always wanting more.
And love, loss, the passage of time.
Yeah, those are timeless.
It's like Fitzgerald understood something fundamental about...
About being human.
Yeah, about what it means to be alive.
The Great Gatsby, it's not just a story about the past.
It's a reflection of ourselves.
Exactly. It shows us our own desires, our struggles,
And it makes us think about how we navigate this this crazy world.
It's a powerful book.
We've been focusing on the novel, but I'm curious about the different adaptations.
Oh yeah, there have been a lot of them.
Movies, plays, even like operas and ballets.
Right.
What do you think those add to our understanding of the book?
Well, they give us a new way to look at it, you know?
Yeah.
Like film, it's visual, right? You've got the music, the costumes. It really pulls you into that world.
Creates a different experience.
Exactly. And plays, they can really bring out the emotions.
The intensity of the relationship.
Yeah, the drama of it all.
And then things like opera or ballet, they explore those themes of
love, loss, disillusionment.
But through music and movement.
It's like each adaptation is having a conversation with the original.
Bringing out different aspects.
Making us see things in a new light.
So we've covered a lot of ground here.
Yeah, we have.
The history, the characters, the themes, why Gatsby still matters. What are some of the key takeaways, for our listener?
Well, I think one thing to really take away is, those green lights, those desires, those goals that we're always chasing after.
Right.
Gatsby's obsession with Daisy, I think it really makes us think about what we're pursuing,
For sure. Are we chasing something that will actually make us happy, or are we clinging to something that's not even real anymore?
Yeah, that's a great point. And it's like connected to this idea of, wanting something so badly versus being delusional.
Okay.
Gatsby, he had ambition, sure, but it was all based on this longing for the past,
Yeah, and that past, it's gone.
Exactly. He was trying to buy his way back into a world that didn't exist anymore.
It's a good reminder, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Not to pin all our happiness on things that are outside of our control. It's funny, Gatsby had all this wealth, but he was still so unhappy.
Yeah, it makes you think, doesn't it?
It does. It's like we tell ourselves, okay, once I get this, then I'll be happy.
Right, the classic if only trap.
But Gatsby shows us that maybe real fulfillment comes from something else.
Yeah, maybe it's about the journey itself, not just the destination.
The growing and changing that happens along the way.
Exactly, finding joy in the present moment, not just in some future achievement.
Gatsby, he had all those fancy things, but he was so lonely.
Right, he had things, but not connection.
Which is really what matters.
Yeah, in the end, it's the relationships, the things we contribute, the experiences that make us feel alive.
It's like a reality check, right?
Totally.
Money and status, they don't guarantee happiness.
Oh, they don't.
Before we wrap up, there's this one thing from the material you sent.
Okay.
It talks about the American dream, but it emphasizes, the pursuing of it,
Oh, interesting.
Not just achieving it, but the chase itself.
That's a good point. It's like the allure is in the striving,
Like with Gatsby, he had the money, but he still wasn't content.
Makes you wonder if sometimes we lose sight of what's really important.
Yeah, when we're so fixated on one goal.
Maybe it's about the growth, the resilience, the connections we make along the way.
And appreciating what we have right now.
Yeah, instead of always wanting more.
So easy to get caught up in that, especially nowadays.
Oh yeah, we're bombarded with messages telling us what to buy, how to look, what kind of success to chase.
And the Great Gatsby, it reminds us to step back from all that.
To define success on our own terms.
Exactly. So as we finish up this deep dive, I want to leave you with this. What would it take to create your own happiness, right now? What small steps can you take today to bring more joy and meaning into your life?
It might not be a Gatsby-style party, but it could be a lot more fulfilling.
Totally. And remember, your story's still being written. You get to choose your ending.
You do.
And that's it for our deep dive into The Great Gatsby. But this is just the beginning, Keep reading, keep thinking, keep those green lights shining. But maybe this time, shine them inward.